joined here by three comic book artists. Of course, si Jamie is a longtime friend. Jamie Bautista, Jonas Diego, and Albert Orr. Tell us, come here so the camera can see you. Okay, I know a lot about your work, but maybe we can start off with your why not question. Jamie, go ahead.
Um, Hello. Our why not question is basically why not have people recognize comics as a medium, as a good communication medium where Filipinos can dominate, where Filipinos are recognized, basically. The thing is with comics, a lot of people, when they see us, they go, oh, people always think of a genre. People think that, oh, comics is about superheroes. It's about sci-fi or fantasy. While it does excel at those things, one thing that a lot of people in our tribe, I guess, our tribe does is try to show that comics can do a lot more than that. A lot of the things we publish, for example, are in other genres. Like we have, like me and Albert have worked on Cast, which is about relationships, about arts, about theater. We have books by Arnold Are, like Martial Law Babies, which talks about our generation and why the people of our generation are leaving the country, or my generation is leaving the country. And also we try to find new applications for comics aside from just entertainment. One of my newest comics called Private Iris is a detective series with Pioneer Life, where basically they want to come up with a comic where they know that kids don't think about savings, they don't think about insurance, because they're so young. They said, so why not put a savings product with something they would normally buy? So they asked me to come up with a comic for that. So when you buy an issue of the comic, basically the child also saves like 100 pesos every issue. So it makes kids save without thinking. But at the same time, because it's a story, the story talks about being smart, how to save. So slowly the kids will also eventually think about financial literacy. So it's basically trying to find ways to use comics to teach things.
You know that there are a lot of comic book artists who actually do work for the big publishers abroad, the Marvel, DC, all these things. But even with that, is there space for Filipino comics? I know that, ikaw, Jamie, you specialize in the not so escapism genre, right? More realistic. But is there space for whether realistic or fantasy for the Philippine market? Do we patronize our own comics? Do we patronize?
I think there definitely is. Basically, a lot of people always ask us, like, what's the Filipino style? What's a Filipino comic? And my standard answer is maybe there's none yet, because rather than having people try to find out what's a Filipino style of writing or a Filipino style of drawing, it's more of find a way to connect with your audience, whatever kind of audience it is. People who want to learn about politics, people who want to learn about relationships, people who want to learn about life in general. Find artistic storytelling techniques, drawing techniques that resonate with them. And because you're talking to fellow Filipinos, then the styles that work, other artists will copy it, and then a Filipino style will emerge from that. It's not consciously trying to be Filipino, but more just trying to connect, express what you want, teach what you want. And I think eventually, because you're Filipino, it will form that way.
So, aside from being a comic book artist, he's also the founder of Robo Monkey Pixel Fighters, which is a cool name. I just had to say it that way. Robo Monkey Pixel Fighters. Jonas, you've done most of your work are digital actually, and online. Baka you can tell us about it.
My question is, why not go digital? A lot of Filipino comic book artists have problems in terms of coming up with money for getting your comics out there, printing costs, distribution, marketing, and all that. So it makes it very hard for the small players to get into the act. The sad thing is there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of good comic book artists, good comic book writers, and they're not really getting a lot of attention and even mainstream attention. And one thing I've seen is that digital is one way, is a good solution for even me as an individual to put my work out there, and if it has merit, it's good, it's exciting. The potential audience is not only here in the Philippines, but it's on a global scale. In fact, one of the stories that I've made, it's a girl story. It was just intended actually for distribution on a national scale, but I put it on the internet, and a publisher in the UK saw it and actually printed it, and we donated the proceeds to women's shelters and things like that.
Here is Albert Orr. He specializes in comics for kids. His comic, the Bakemono High, actually comes out in K-Zone, which is the favorite of my pamangkin. Can't live without it. So Albert, tell us about Philippine comics for kids.
Essentially, the question that I ask myself is, why not comics for kids? Um, the thing is, people tend to say a lot that comics, ay, pambata lang yan, di ba? That you shouldn't read them if you're older or something. But the truth is, especially in the local industry, there's not a lot of comics for kids that are being made. And the few that do tend to talk down to the audience. They tend to forget that kids are smarter than they maybe give them credit for. So that's pretty much what I continually try to explore, being able to entertain kids by telling stories, but at the same time, recognizing that comics is a powerful medium of expression in such a visually oriented culture, no? And so you also have that advantage of once you're able to get the attention and interest of the kids, then you might be able to educate them in other matters as well. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Albert, Jonas, and Jamie. Maraming salamat. Let's give a round of applause, please, for our 3 comic book artists.